In this lesson, I'm going to go over the sun position plugin inside of Unreal and how to generate geolocation-based lighting. I'll go over the following steps in the video. First, we'll go over how to activate the plugin, as well as I'll mention some of the templates that already have the plugin turned on. Next, I'll cover how to get specific latitude and longitude, as well as how to save them into a shareable Google map. Next, I'll cover how to set your time zone parameters. Then, I will also talk about the updated interface and a workflow for making an animated day-night cycle. Then, I'll set up the blueprints and create the day-night cycle. I'll go over the blueprints in greater detail in the second edX course. Finally, I'll talk about some of the impacts of the new volumetric sky and how this will connect to this workflow. Links to the topic of why the sky is blue, the Unreal documentation for the plugin, and I also put a link that I thought might be useful for a tutorial on how to set up a URL link inside of Unreal that would take you to an external site. The idea being that we might be able to link to our Google Maps that we've set up from our lesson from inside our simulation. All right, great. Let's jump into Unreal and get started. Before we return to our current project, I wanted to open up the templates. So this is open as if we were going to create a new project. Now, the one we're using is actually the games template, and it's first person. However, if you go into the new projects and you look under architectural visualization and construction, and you go in there, you'll see that there's an architectural visualization template. It's all set up to import CAD-based data using the Datasmith workflow, as well as has a bunch of presets that allow for the exploration of interiors and exteriors, as well as non-photorealistic settings. But for now, let's jump back into our original project and work on geolocation there. All right, we're back in the engine. So the first thing we need to do is go activate the sun position plugin. So under settings, we'll go to plugins, built in, and then just type in sun. Now I've already turned it on, but when you turn it on the first time, it'll ask you to restart your editor. So after you've done that, let's go back to the first person example map. And inside of our blueprints folder, you can right click and we'll create a blueprint. And then you might need to dial open all classes. And then just in the search tab, type sun. And there's the BP sun position. And just name it BP sun position. All right, great. And once you've done that, just drag it in. And wow, you can see it immediately connects to your directional light and hooks itself up. So if we started to dial in, change the time of day, we would see an immediate shift. That's great. All right, we're back in the engine. So the first thing we need to do is go activate the sun position plugin. So under settings, we'll go to plugins, built in, and then just type in sun. Now I've already turned it on, but when you turn it on the first time, it'll ask you to restart your editor. So after you've done that, let's go back to the first person example map. And inside of our blueprints folder, you can right click and we'll create a blueprint. And then you might need to dial open all classes. And then just in the search tab, type sun. And there's the BP sun position. Now select that and just name it BP sun position. All right, great. And once you've done that, just drag it in. And wow, you can see it immediately connects to your directional light and hooks itself up. So if we started to dial in, change the time of day, we would see an immediate shift. That's great. So we know we can move the sun around. Now the question is, what would it look like if we dialed in at 12 midnight? Ooh, the stars come out. All right, what about 7 a.m.? Great. Okay, so now we know that we can adjust the time, and we can also adjust the date. Right now it's January 1st, so let's see what it looks like. Oh, say in June. Oh, it's a little bit brighter in the morning. Okay, nice. Now that we got that rolling, let's plug in some actual latitude and longitudes. So we're going to go to a browser. All right, so we've opened a browser and we've typed in mymaps.google.com. So now we can create a new map, give it a name. And then it's pretty simple. You can just type in names or locations. Statue of Liberty. Type in Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon Diner National Park is what I want. And we could type in the Rochester Institute of Technology where I teach. All right. Add that to the map. Now we can change the look of these different icons here. And also, when we click on it, you can see that this is the latitude and longitude. So we've got that information. You can zoom out just so that you guys know this isn't just country specific. We can go anywhere in the world. All right, it's Google Maps. And there's other customizations you could do, but this is pretty great. So let's move to our next link, which is times. So I've dialed open the worldtimeserver.com, and you can see that you've got all the time zones that you'd like. And the way you use these is it's the UTC and then it's plus or minus. So if we want to do Rochester Institute of Technology, that's the Eastern time zone. So just ET, that's -4. Okay, so I pasted in the latitude, I'll paste in the longitude, and the time zone is -4. All right, wonderful. So let's make it, we're in 2020. Oh, let's make it tomorrow. All right, well, that pretty much shows what it'll look like at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Got a nice forecast for tomorrow. The final step is to set up the blueprints. So here's how I did this. I created an event begin play. Then I got the actors of class BP sun position. And that is an array. So really it's just the only one. So I got the first element of that array. And I right clicked and I promoted that to a variable, which I called BP sun position. So that shows up over here. Then I right clicked and created a timeline node. And inside the timeline, I set up a float track. So you can hit F to create a float track. And also I turned on autoplay and I set the length to 24 because there's 24 hours in a day. Then I went from 0, and then I went to 1400 minutes because that's how many minutes there are in a day. And then I just did a little math. So it's counting minutes, and then I divided by 60 to get the hours. So I just dropped in this variable and dragged off of it and typed hours because there's an hours variable inside of this blueprint. And I set that. And then I dragged off and set the minutes, and I'm just getting the value here. I dragged out, and then I subtracted from the total, and I truncated it, and then I'm updating the sun variable. So now that we've done that, we've updated the sun variable, let's just go back. We can compile. Great. Let's go into our editor, and we can hit Alt-P to play, and oh, it's more early morning. Where's the sun going to come up? Here it comes. Great. Oh, it's getting to be afternoon. You can see those shadows coming. All right. So that pretty much does it for now. In a future video, we'll talk about how to set up our sky to deal with the new volumetric sky potentials that we've got going. For right now, this is the old sky sphere, but we'll update it with the new clouds, which will be great. All right. Well, thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video.